I think that was sort of pivotal for people in the building and around the situation, because there was a sort of feeling that he was going to sit back and he was going to let Dan Morgan and Scott Fitterer kind of figure out the head coaching position. And you hear a lot of talk about these young offensive coordinators like Ken Dorsey, which I know you guys just talked about. But now, after that, you kind of sort of get the feeling that Tepper hasn't had that bit of humility he needs to be able to say, okay, I'm going to step back. I have an inability to be successful when I'm hands-on. So now you sort of wonder where this ego trip will lead him to find a new head coach. I've heard a lot about Sean Payton. It was previously set up before they even fired Matt Rule about talking about Sean Payton, but of course that would require a lot of draft picks. Like, that would be at least a first-round draft pick, and even if the Saints even won in there, because that's not a for sure thing. But I do think there's mutual interest between Sean Payton and Carolina, and I think that would be a David Tepper move, though I do think Fitterer and Morgan would be on board. But I know for a fact that Morgan's guy is Ken Dorsey, and the Seattle offensive coordinator is a name to watch, and there's a couple other younger guys. But I do think that press conference from Tepper was very pivotal, and the emotions leading into that were something everybody was paying attention to, and he definitely did not show the humility he needed to. Everybody like and subscribe, love the podcast, keep it going.
Thanks to Natalie. That was a fantastic call. Shout out to Natalie Miller. And basically what she's saying right there is Dan Morgan, if he had his way, the top of his list would be none other than Ken Dorsey up there in Buffalo. I would love that. And to me, it's bringing that guy home. I think this man has cut his teeth. He's now been a part of a really good NFL organization with the Buffalo Bills. And that would be awesome. Another pill that I think we're going to have to swallow, and it's going to be a tough one to swallow, but I think all four of us need to do it, and I think everyone in the chat needs to do it. These rumors about Sean Payton and Dan Quinn, they're not going to go away. And I'm here to tell you, Sean Payton, I'm telling you, they're not going away. And Sean Payton just went on Kay Adams' new show, and he's talking about kind of joking about, oh, no, David Tepper didn't call him. Like, it's a very open secret now that Sean Payton is at the very top of a short list for David Tepper.
He's at the very top of everybody's list, though. That's the problem. Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's my question for people who want Sean Payton. I am telling you, without question, you're asking for at least 2 first-round picks. They are not giving him away into a division rival. Like, he's just not coming here. Dan Quinn, the experiment happened and it failed. Like, you can use his experience there with 1 year of success at Atlanta, but then you can also look right down to the people who just whooped our ass and see Kyle Shanahan left and that organization crumbled when he left. So, like, Dan Quinn, the idea of either of those two people come to the Carolinas is so far-fetched and out of reality. There is no reason Sean Payton would want to come to the Carolina Panthers, because the only attractive thing that we would offer him is that he would be able to pick one of these top guys this year. And the problem is, you don't think New Orleans is going to want this year's first-round draft pick from us in order to get him?
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's so clear. Sean Payton wouldn't want to come here. You saw him dance all around that question on Colin Cowherd. It was kind of hard to interpret when he said it's a unicorn. And what he meant was finding a team that actually has a quarterback already was the unicorn part. We aren't the unicorn. We're the regular corn, right? We're the corn on the cob, but we're the frozen corn. But on top of that, you just know this is that there is no single way. I don't even care what we give the New Orleans Saints. I don't even think it would be. I mean, like, I think, first of all, whatever it would require would keep Sean Payton from considering it.
Can I ask you a question? And I think it's a valid one, right? How do you hire an offensive coordinator under contract without having to trade for him?
Like who?
I'm saying, like, I'm just asking a hypothetical, right?
I think they leave their contract. But they quit.
Why wouldn't Sean Payton be able to leave his contract without trading?
Because he's still under contract with the.
No, but like say Ken Dorsey I bet you there's a clause in people's contracts if they move up.
Well, I think like the players, it's just like what's his name, the running back for the Steelers a couple of years ago. Like you're under contract. Like if you choose not to play, Le'Veon Bell. If you choose not to play, your contract doesn't expire because of that year. You're still under contract to play.
I think that's what he's asking though, is if we wanted to hire Ken Dorsey, say.
Like so my main question is right now, they're most likely every offensive coordinator that's going to be hired is still under contract for their for a couple of years, right?
Or we don't know. Actually, do offensive coordinators usually have multi-year deals? I don't know.
And I think the lateral move would be the biggest issue. So my wonder is, can we circumvent that by giving him a position higher than head coach, like
GM,
like a GM role or
president, owner,
and he has a heavy hand in the way the offense is running. Maybe not just the head coach position.
But I don't know if that allows him the type of power, though. One of the things that we're hearing from David Tepper, and that he even mentioned in his press conference, is that now he thinks that there should probably be a little bit of separation in responsibilities between head coach and general manager. And the type of guy that Sean Payton is, I don't think that he's able to actually put his stamp on this team from just a GM perspective. Right. I think it would have to be in control of this football team. And look, I'm just going to come out and say that I know a lot of people really don't like Sean Payton. If it wasn't for the draft picks and us having to compensate our division rival,
I'd take him in a heartbeat.
This might piss someone off. I have no problem with Sean Payton being the head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
Why would it?
That man has proven himself, and that because the division rival, he has a punchable face, he has the duck lips. All this different stuff. I understand it. It's fan.
We would be all wearing duck bills to the games if we started winning.
He has produced some of the most prolific offenses in NFL history. And there is a reason why so many teams want him, and he's at the top of a very short list. Ross and Gold makes a great point. Bountygate, that was a bad stain on Sean Payton when that whole thing happened.
But he won after that, so it cleaned up, right?
But the other part to this is, I know that we like the idea of having sustained success. He only made it with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the entire history of the NFL. He made it to the Super Bowl once.
You just say
you can say that about Rodgers too, though. Yeah. I mean, like he made it to the Super Bowl once, but they were a contender every year for a decade.
And you know what? Peyton Manning, think about this: is before he got to the super defense in Denver, or the super team in Denver, how many times did he actually get to the Super Bowl in Indy? Once. Sure.
Tom Brady is the anomaly. He's the only quarterback.
Tom Brady has made everybody make it think that that's actually possible. Really, what's the sustained
Andy
success?
Reid.
Yeah, but that's kind of been over a long ass career.
No, he's gone there with. He's gone there twice with Patrick Mahomes.
Kansas.
Twice. But you also have to have a guy too. Like those things go in tandem with one another. So talking about Kyle Shanahan, and how good he is as a coach for the 49ers. And that guy really hasn't had a superstar quarterback like a Drew Brees or a Patrick Mahomes or an Aaron Rodgers. And yet everybody pretty much knows that he's a good coach. I'm a firm believer that in today's NFL, you have to have a quality head coach and a franchise quarterback that can elevate your team in the biggest of moments.
Yeah. Look at this. When did he take over? Can someone find out? Can you find out?
2006, if I'm not mistaken.
Was it 6?
Yeah.
Listen to this. Is he took the Saints went to the playoffs in 06, 09, 2010, 2011, 2013, 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like they were contenders.
Now making it to the Super Bowl, but still, I think that truly is the definition of sustained success: is playoff.
It is
bound, and in a division that no one ever won it over and over until we won it those 3 times.
We were the first team to win it 3 times.
Yeah, and it was just always back and forth, and to give some credit, I guess, to Sean Payton on this, or at least to the difficulties. The teams that have made it over and over to the playoffs often are in the shittiest divisions. New England, dumpster fire of a division with the Jets and the Dolphins forever. Green Bay, looking at just a mess with the Lions and the Bears at times. You know what I mean? So it's not like they have been these juggernaut divisions. In fact, you could probably argue that even Patrick Mahomes in their division outside of Denver has been weak until Justin Herbert got there.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah. I mean, like, I get what you're saying is that, like, but that, yeah. I think, Cody, I think, CK, you bring up a good point, too, is that maybe, while he's worth to pay whatever you want to pay him, right? Like, give him the 7-year contract, give him the $1 billion. But you don't want to handicap him by taking away all his picks either.
No.
And I don't think he would want to come to Carolina if he had to give up 3 first-round picks.
That's what I'm saying.
He wouldn't want to come there. And New Orleans ain't letting him come near us.
No, I did. So
he's going to Denver.
The person
or
who
the Chargers.
The person who prompted this discussion was Natalie M. in our cat calls. And a little while ago, she put in the comment section that maybe you would be talking about future first-round picks. So hypothetically, right? Let me just pose this to y'all. Let's say we had a top 5 pick and we go out and trade for Sean Payton, but it doesn't involve any of our picks this year. They're in subsequent years. Would that be okay with you? So like let's say let's say you had the opportunity and everybody
get your quarterback.
Use your brain and take your emotions out of it. If you had an opportunity as a CJ Stroud or whatever your flavor is, if it's Bryce Young, whatever, if you had quarterback, your pick of quarterback, and Sean Payton, would you be willing to trade some future, so like 2024 and above first-round picks?
Maybe 1 first-round pick.
Could I get a pick back this year too?
We can only go 4 years into the future. I think that's the rule, right? So you can only go 3 or 4 years into the future. They have made it so the NFL has a rule where you can't go like, we'll give you our next
so it's not
4th round pick for 10 years or something like that.
I would do it. If I'm being honest, I would do it. And knowing that even if we keep our first round pick, if that gets to be a quarterback, our other picks, it's going to be a high 2nd round pick. And you already know that Figueroa likes to wheel and deal and move back and work the board. So I can see us still filling out a full draft this year and making that happen. That's the only scenario in which I would be okay with the Panthers giving up assets to get Sean Payton.
I would give up assets.
The only reason I would be even willing to give up 1 first-round pick is because I do believe Sean Payton coming in here with the new coach would make that first-round pick less valuable. Yeah. You know, and what I mean by that is we'd be picking later in the draft because we'd be a better team.
Winning.
Yeah, well, one other thing too is the Saints always were dealing their first-round picks for players, and you remember, like, they were always giving up the farm in the
Ricky
future.
Williams. Yeah,
but even when Peyton was there, they were always moving around in the draft aggressively and free agency. They go sign things and trade away. So it's not like he's unaccustomed to not having a first in a way next year. It really is all about if he has his quarterback.
Right.
You know, is that and that's when ultimately your first round pick matters so much. Is that, think about this, is that could you build a team with Sean Payton and CJ Stroud without drafting JC Horn? Yes.
But here's where we would end up losing with Sean Payton if we did that. I'm not saying losing as an organization. We would have lost if, let's say, we made that decision and Ken Dorsey goes to become a head coach. And
I don't believe in him.
Hold on. Let's forget about that. Let's say that any of the other head coaches out there that we got for no draft capital and they end up being just as good, if not better. If that's the case, we lost that trade. We if we are successful in any way whatsoever, we will have lost that because we could have been way farther ahead than we were because we ended up having to trade a first. Now, at the end of the day, if we win a Super Bowl, that shit don't matter. but you're taking a pretty big gamble giving away 2 second-round picks that Sean Payton's going to work out.
How about this? What? All right, so you call it a gamble, right?
I mean, it's always
a gamble because
he has there. How about this?
Zero success without Drew Brees at the helm. Zero.
Well, how
success.
much?
True.
Well, how much actual how much coaching has he had without Drew Brees?
And how much success has Bill Belichick?
Actually, he made the playoffs with JC. Didn't he make it with doing the dual quarterback, or didn't they do pretty well?
Last year was his first year without Drew Brees, and they didn't make the playoffs.
But they made the playoffs with a shell of himself, Drew Brees.
But
I'm
hey,
just saying
no. That Drew Brees could still wheel and deal. He wasn't getting the ball down the field, but he could wheel and he knew he was smart as fuck.
He was on time.
Let me ask you this: Is it a gamble though? You're saying it's a gamble, right?
It is.
It's always.
But is it not a gamble to go and get Matt Rule to be your head coach?
It's a gamble.
Is it a gamble to go get a guy that's never been a head coach? Is it a gamble to get Ken Dorsey?
But you're not gambling draft
giving
picks,
up
is what
2
he's saying.
second-round picks.
You're not gambling draft
and
picks,
you're paying them.
But you're not gambling on Sean Payton. You know he's great.
You don't know that. You know he's been able to be successful with.
Been great.
But see, that's a little unfair, man. That's a little unfair because I can literally say the same thing about Bill Belichick. Other than one playoff run under Matt Jones, what has Bill Belichick done outside of Tom Brady? Like, you can argue that Bill Belichick isn't, a great head coach.
I'll give you a perfect example. What happened when Tom Brady got hurt? He had Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett, and they still won with those guys.
Yeah, but they were also winning with Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill.
They won 5 games with Teddy Bridgewater, and they were unconvincing. I agree, but at the end of the day, that is an argument you can make. But you can also look at this and say, Sean Payton never made it to the playoffs without Drew Brees at the helm. Never once.
When Brady left New England, so did Gronk, and no other star offensive players came there. Like, they lost a lot more than just Tom Brady at quarterback. So that was a little more of a gut punch. Like, when Sean Payton lost Drew Brees, they still had Michael Thomas, they still had Kamara, they still had that stout defense, they still had all that. So I'll give points to CK on that one because it's a little bit different.
I want to know a quarter, but all right, we're gonna go back to the calls. The number's 252-228